Alright folks, hello and welcome back. Kujiro from Gaming in Japan here, and this time I want to do a slightly different format of a video in terms of the visuals and a face camera and of course Resident Evil Resistance. Again, like I promised you, today I'm going to talk about the new Alex, the new Phobos skill, and how you can actually use that in a match, and how it can uh, give you the incentive to play a little bit of a diverse style of build with both creatures and mines. Okay, so the main thing with Alex is that the main thing with Alex is that one of her passive skills is always related to mines. So even if you want to use creatures, okay, you want to use infectious creatures, you always have to consider the second passive skill that is related to mines. What usually I do, and probably most people do, are they're doing like a point for the discount, for the one cost discount, in order to use the infectious mines in the second area. But today I'm going to show you something a little bit different. With this build, I'm playing with three modes. Okay, this is the equipment. I'm using both creatures and mines. So in the equipment side of things, I'm going to equip things related to either creature HP or just infection. I need the faster armament of the traps, of course. And the second piece of equipment that you're seeing there is, of course, the energy leech for mines. And the energy leech for mines works very well with the air burst mine, by the way. And here you can see I have three creatures, but I also am using the viral mode with infection that gives your creature infection right away. I'm not using a vapor or an enhancer because in a game against actually good players, you're not going to have enough time if you want to use both mines and creatures in order to get the creatures out, get the mines out, and then actually being able to um, detonate the mines or activate the creatures or activate the infectious vapor. There is just not enough time for that. If you're going to go for the 3 cost native infectious zombie, it's going to put a lot of strain on your deck. But if you're using the creature mode and the infectious viral mode, you can have a 0 cost crawler that is still infectious right away. The point of the crawler in that scenario is, of course, not to do any damage or anything like that, or not to even hide the mice. The point is to uh, get the survivors infected as soon as possible and always build up their infectious levels in order for you to get more damage out of the actual mines themselves. I'm also using the Red Queen mode because you have to actually be able to fastly detonate the mines. And like the basic scenario for fast activation of the mines is the following. You need to have at least two components, okay? You need to either have the Red Queen and the electric cable in your equipment, or you need to have a Red Queen and the mechanic skill, okay, with the second passive, or you need to have electric cable and Red Queen, but without mechanic. You can do something else, but you need to have at least two components in order to be able to actually detonate the mines fast enough. And like I said earlier, the point is to get the survivors infected and then detonate mines in their faces. Like doing that is requires a lot of execution in my opinion, because there are a lot of things that you actually have to do in the game to achieve the scenario. But on the other side of things, the survivors themselves have to really deal with a lot of things on their end. Because, for example, if you play just pure mines, The only creatures that survivors are going to encounter are outside of your preset, if you have it, of course, is the crawler, and they can probably guess that there are some kind of mines around the crawler. But if you have other creatures as well that are infected, and sometimes you are going control them and like do damage with them, and actually have mines on top of that, it's going to be very hard for them to deal with all of these things at once. I'm going to show you a game now. I'm going to comment on the game. Um, this is one of the new maps, of course. It's the Bemusement Park. Since there is a door here, the idea is, of course, to defend the door right away. The first order of business is to rotate your deck with actually the correct modes. If you want to detonate mines, you need to rotate into the Red Queen right away. And here we have Martin. He was able to get out of the door. I detonated the mine here, although the survivors weren't infected at all yet. But now Martin and both Jill and Martin are infected. I'm going to leave double zombies here. All of them are infected because I have already rotated into the infectious creatures mode. And running 3 modes in your deck in that case is not that um, doesn't have a lot of disadvantages in my opinion, because you can take advantage of both creatures and the mines. Here I want to just get out and do a little bit of damage to them. As you can see, like when she's infected, I think she's on level 2 of infection here, but I was able to do over 200 damage with a single swipe of her. Here I'm doing a lot, as you saw, 132 damage. That's probably on level 1 of infection. But still, this is a good synergy. And here it is, a crawler that is infectious right away. I'm also putting a mine on the ground. I probably should have put that a little bit closer to Jan, because I should have realized that they are going to try to revive her. But anyway, this is what usually happens when you are running crawlers with mines. You're going to mistakenly take control over a crawler instead of try to detonate a mine. But here you're going to see something very interesting. So 3 of the survivors are infected, and here where I detonate the mines, one of them took just a second. One of them took Jan took over 900 damage, and Martin took over 500 damage. So that's insane. Yeah, 584 and just a second. Okay, so it's 901 and 584. So this is insane amount of damage, guys, considering that there are no damage attachments in the equipment for the mines. This is really a lot of damage. So this is the way that the Phobos skill can be useful to you when you play Alex, because this amount of damage is really serious, and when you actually have creatures, you can actually just prevent the other survivors. Yeah, you can see again over 200 damage for a single swipe. Here I didn't saw Tyrone for a second there for some reason. 587 damage bite. Okay, again with no damage attachments on the creatures. Yeah, I should have just controlled the zombie on the left, why I didn't do that, but yeah, this is uh, very cool for sure. And if you're actually able to execute the build correctly, I think it's very good and has a lot of potential. One of the ways that the survivors can counter that is if so, for example, people are used to uh, deal with infectious zombies at some point where they when they have Valerie, and her new skill that gives you immunity to infection after you use it to her for a while. That's insane. And of course, she has the like the fever skill healing. And when they have stuff like that, they will be able to navigate through the poison, and they'll probably build some awareness for the mice after they see what happens in Area 1. So your biggest advantage is to try to do as much damage and stall them as much as possible in Area 1 because like when you try to think from the perspective of the survivors, it's really weird for them. So they see both creatures and mines, and they probably at first they're going to assume that the creatures are from a preset, but after a while they're going to see that you're able to actually spawn creatures and detonate mine fast at the same time. So they have to really be careful for a lot of things at once. So this is a thing that you can take advantage of. You can also use the Phobos skill variation in order to just play pure creatures, like with this build, for example. Once again, I'm using uh, the viral mode that gives your creatures infection right away. And even if Martin does his like annoying flash things and removes the poison from the existing creatures, you can still summon a zero cost crawler with infection in their legs and build up the infection again right away. So uh, I'm going to repeat that again, part from the beginning. When you're playing against actually good players with a build like this, you're not going to have enough time to summon regular creatures and then give them infection with the vapor. There is just a lot of requirements that you have to fulfill, but if you use the mod to get the infection right away as soon as the creatures are spawned, you can just spawn the creatures like among them and build up the infection right away. Okay, this deck that is focused on just doing that. I have also a dog. The point of the dog is like something similar to the point of the crawler to just uh, build up the infection as soon as possible when you summon it in front of them. And if you're playing a deck like this, you can actually afford to put both infection and a little bit of damage in your equipment. Something like this. You have a Battle Canister 3, you have the Veneral Claw, and you also have the Razor Claw level 2, and of course the Fortifying Virus, in order for you to be able to sustain a little bit more damage when you're controlling the creatures. But yeah, you can actually use damage in your equipment synergize with the Phobos skill, and of course you can also use the tracker mine to hopefully be able to track them and do even more damage. So um, there is an advantage in that build for sure. But for me personally, the most interesting way to use her now is to just try to combine both mines and creatures. And you can also, although I don't really know how to actually execute that in the real game, to use the new third skill that for Alex that doesn't allow for your exploding mines to affect creatures or mines that are static. So there is a lot of combo potential there because you can, for example, detonate a air buster mine and then uh, hit them while they are like rolling on the ground a couple of times. You can probably kill them with a zombie if you like hit them something like 5 times and do a bite at the end or something like that. But I wasn't able to actually do that in a real game so far. But the potential is definitely there if you go for something like that, however, please keep in mind that you have to sacrifice the mechanic skill. For Alex, the mechanic skill not only detonates your mine faster, but makes the mine more sturdier, and Martin takes more time to disarm them, so you will have to compensate that disadvantage with an electric cable, either 2 or 3. I prefer to use electric cable 3, and you need to have the Red Queen mode in deck. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to detonate the mines fast enough, and of course, you're needing the boat for the faster uh, traps armament. The faster trap summoning. I'm sorry, it's like sometimes my English gets a little bit glitchy. But yeah, you need to be able to put the active mine faster. And the thing about the mine builds is that they're really hard on your equipment, guys. I mean, it's hard to combine mines with other stuff because you need the fast armament, you need uh, the new energy reach for mines 100% for sure because it has a very good synergy with the air booster. Uh, Gives you a lot of energy when they're hit with the air mine a couple of times. You get a lot of energy out of that. And if you have all these pieces of equipment, your creatures are probably not going to be as strong as possible. So the balancing act of using creatures and mines at the same time is a hard thing to do. But if executed correctly, I think it has a lot of potential and it can really confuse the survivors in the beginning of what is actually going on. But I'm going to experiment and try and work with that build a little bit more and see how it can be used in the best possible way. In my opinion, um, uh, like the thing about builds is that determining the effectiveness of the build is actually not as easy and not as straightforward as it sounds because a lot of that comes down to execution. I have talked a lot about this in virtually any of my other Resident Evil Resistance videos. Executing the build correctly can lead to victory, but sometimes even a super OP build can be a loss if you are not able to execute like the placements and your timings are off and stuff like that. Then, like no matter what type of build you're using and what type of like gameplay you have in mind, you might still lose. And yeah, that's even if you lose, you that doesn't mean that your build is incorrect. Basically, what I'm trying to say here. And a lot of the execution of the build when you're playing Mastermind has nothing to do with the deck itself. It has a lot of to do with the way you move the cameras. You need to be able to move your cameras fast across the maps. So yeah, that's not as easy as it sounds because, for example, on Uptown Area 3, I still cannot play this level correctly. It's very hard for me to play on that level. All of the creatures seem like super exposed there, and like I don't really understand how to like play on that area very well. By the way, here I'm using the second variation of the Phobos build, where I'm only using creatures here. Creatures with infection with the Phobos variation and also with a little bit of additional damage in the equipment. So yeah, here I'm obviously playing on the Guzman Park, and all of the key pieces in Area 1 are in this part of the map. I'm kind of not used to play on the other part of the map, and it's kind of like. I think it's better to focus your defense on just a single part of the map in order to have a better control, but that's just my opinion, of course. So as you can see now, all of them are infected, okay? And Jill was somehow miraculously able to get away there, but here she ate a 283 damage from a single swipe, so that was a little bit insane. And here's how you can do that. You can, like, you're placing a crawler in their legs and you're building up the infection in order for them to be infected as long as possible and on the highest level of infection as possible, and that actually works pretty well. 280 damage is not a joke, okay? And as you saw in the previous video, here Valerie activated her fever skill, and this was a miss from my part. I really should have known that something like this would happen. But yeah, you can do a lot with the new Phobos skill, and if you add like damage, as you saw earlier with the bite, you can get something like the Daniel damage bite realm, doing something like 500 or even 600 damage from a single bite, so that's a little bit insane. Here on area 2, I like to always uh, just try and play with the Tough Infection Zombie. That's a part of my preset. And the idea is to again build up the infection right away. And Becca is dead from the very beginning. And although, yeah, I messed up here. And although they were able to revive her, like, she's still infected. Okay, she's still infected, and John is also already infected. So you need to be able to just do that, you know, to have a success with this build. Here I want to see how much damage I can actually do with both infection and tracker mine, but it didn't work out very well for me. And here I'm just going to try up and stall them before they realize where Cartoon Zombie actually is. And I failed with the lead from the Dealer Zombie, but that's okay because they basically lost it. If Jill uses um, her rocket launcher, and if Martin uses his flashes and stuff, there are a lot of things that can stop you and put a damper in your plans, but yeah, the mines and the creatures they're just on top of everything else, they're a fun variation of a build to play. I haven't seen in a YouTube video or on a stream manual play a hybrid build, Alex, so far. If you know about anyone who is doing that, please let me know down in the comment section below. So this is going to be it for this video, guys. I hope you like this format. Please let me know what you think down in the comments below. And today, on Sunday, it's September 6th, from 12 a.m. on the noon PDT, that's Pacific Date Time. I think it's the time standard for California, but I'm not 100% sure. I'm going to stream Resident Evil Resistance with Alex and her hybrid builds, and I'm going to also play a little bit of Spencer later, so please come say hi if you're interested. It's twitch.tv/gaming and Japan. Thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you in a couple hours. Bye!